I apologize if this offends anybody, but the fat lady has sung, at least in terms of the testimony in the Diddy case, because the prosecution has rested and the defense, as we told you the other day, is not going to call a single witness. This case is going to be over as early as Friday. So the closing arguments are now set for Thursday. Presumably, it will not take more than a day, and the jury could get this case on Friday. Now, I say as early as Friday, I don't think that's going to happen, because based on everything we have heard, this is a complicated case. And I just don't see the jury all agreeing on all counts at the beginning, or even a day or two in. It feels to me, and I may be wrong, but it feels to me like there's going to be a lot of discussion and arguing, because even if they agree on two of the counts, the remaining ones they may disagree on, and the judge is going to want some closure on everything to the extent they can do it, certainly before declaring a mistrial. So, look, I see this going into next week. The complicating factor is that next week is the 4th of July. 4th is on Friday. Now, on Thursday, court is closed, but the judge could make the jury continue to deliberate Thursday. And even though the court is closed, we could get a jury verdict on a court holiday. We don't know if that's going to happen. We don't know if the judge is going to actually do that, but we know that's an option left up to the judge. So we will see. I got to tell you something before we get into these comments, which are really interesting. The case right now is very scattered on the prosecution's part, because that's the way these cases are. You have a bunch of different witnesses talking about different things. You know, which part is RICO, which part is consent, which part is the Mann Act. This is the key when both sides try to put the case together in closing arguments. I cannot stress to you how important closing arguments are. Thursday is make or break. This is where prosecutors have to paint a picture of Diddy as a racketeer, as someone who cajoles and forces people into these freak-offs, somebody who intentionally brings sex workers from one state to another, paying them money to engage in sexual acts. This is where they have to paint that picture, and paint it beyond a reasonable doubt. Now, the prosecutor, Comey, is a master at this. She did an amazing job in the Maxwell case, and I would expect she's going to be as compelling as can be on Thursday. Now, the defense has a lot of firepower. I don't know if it's going to be Tenny Garagos or Mark Agnifilo or somebody else. My sense is it's going to be Tenny Garagos who is going to deliver the defense's closing. And we know what they're going to do is they're going to focus on reasonable doubt. They're going to say, we didn't call any witnesses because the prosecution never proved its case. And they will go through a litany of things and essentially end with arguing that the prosecution is engaging in bedroom police, that this is a prosecution of bedroom police against Sean Diddy Combs. That's what they are going to argue. Now, you may have heard that the defense asked today that all the charges be dismissed, that the judge should dismiss them because the prosecution didn't prove its case. There's a lot less here than meets the eye. This is not unusual. In fact, it's standard operating procedure that the defense does this, and they do it to preserve their right on appeal. The judge almost always denies that motion. It will be denied here. This case will go to the jury. Now, yesterday, I asked people to just chime in on winners and losers. That's what we're talking about here. So who is the winner and who is the loser at this point? And I invited people to comment. There's some real interesting comments here, so let's go through a couple of them. Okay, this is Miguel Hernandez. Diddy is a freak dude, no doubt about that, but the way all of this is coming out, piece by piece, story after story, It feels less like a search for justice and more like character assassination via legal means. Okay, the next one, Stacy. I don't think the prosecution team has proven its case totally. I think some arguments were put forward, interesting, to shame Diddy. That's kind of an interesting take. Okay, that's absolutely correct that it's bedroom policing. It's not a RICO case, it's a FRICO case. Next one. I would say the guy isn't guilty of RICO, nor the 2 counts of sex trafficking of Cassie and Jane. They took individual bad acts from relationships, put them together, and claimed RICO. No criminal enterprise. The next one. I mean, this is interesting. So far, 4 people are saying not guilty. What's coming out about Diddy lately is seriously disturbing. The way he manipulates people and controls the narrative while maintaining a polished public image reminds me of a book I read called Exquisite Psychopath by Johann Broens. It's not about celebrities, but it perfectly explains how some people hide calculated, harmful behavior behind charm and status. After reading it, you start seeing situations like this in a whole new light. I gotta say, this is the most interesting of all, because I think what this person is saying is what the prosecution is going to argue in closing, that you strip the veneer off Diddy and what you get is this character who is much darker than the person he presents himself as. And I think this is a really strong argument. Okay, another. For me, it's a slam dunk for conviction. For the kidnapping charge, he performed extortion from Cassie's mother, caught Cassie near the elevators and continued to kick her while she was unconscious. And the important part, he dragged her back into the room. For the forced labor, that's a no-brainer. For the bribery, a no-brainer. Obstruction of justice, physical violence, drug offenses, etc., all to support his ongoing illegal activities. What was illegal? Illegal drugs, helping trap the women, sex trafficking, controlling women through coercion, etc. All being set up by employees who step up, clean up, brought the drugs, helped in the bribery, etc. He didn't do it for money. He did it for power. I gotta say, these are impressive comments on both sides. That last one felt like a closing argument to me. Okay, next. I studied Homeland Security in college, and I agree with the defense that I am surprised that Homeland Security spends so much time in Puffy's bedroom and very little on terrorism that is happening in our country. Okay, I'm going to read maybe 4 more. If I was a juror, I would have a big conversation with all the jurors and probably get everyone to see that please don't let him date your daughter. He is not a role model nor a normal boyfriend to be proud of. I still have reasonable doubt on his charges and would vote on him being not guilty. He is not innocent, but the charges he's up have not been proven. Okay, couple more. Bring up Iran in his defense just tells me they have nothing and are reaching. That may be rethought, bringing that up. I agree this is a RICO case. They've already proved it's in Cassie's testimony, plus he paid her off and still paying another policing in the bedroom about that statement. I'm not sure what that means. I would say, what about all the children that don't have fathers on their birth certificate? That's a policy that should be done, but isn't done either. Having a little trouble with that one. Okay, 2 more. I'm a woman and I would not find him guilty. This whole case seemed more like a performance for the public from day one. Humiliating and shaming him. If it were strictly a DV case, domestic violence, I would say guilty, but it's not. Is he a bad person? Yes, absolutely. Is he guilty of these charges? No. Courts are supposed to rule on laws, not morals. That's a defense argument in closing. And finally, these adults were into this kinky, toxic lifestyle. That's their business and their choice. That kind of lifestyle can turn dangerous, of course, but they all participated willingly. My body, my choice can't just be a slogan when used as a convenient method. So that's a smattering of what people are saying. And I got to say, some of these things are the very things you're going to hear what the lawyers on both sides are going to be saying in court on Thursday. Again, the jury could get this case Friday. We could get a verdict as early as Friday. I don't think that's going to happen. So stay tuned. And I'm also told that when a verdict comes down, the judge is not going to have a long interlude before reading it. It's going to happen quick.